Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Crash City. This week, I have technically an Avenger. He's also a director, a voice actor, and you've probably heard of him in a lot of different shows. I have Bill Millsap here today. How are you?
Judge, jury, executioner!
Hey, thank you so much for having me, man. It's my delight to be here.
I want to know the first and foremost, how was the El Capitan theater event for Marvel Rivals?
That was delightful. That was the first time I'd ever spoken on a panel, and so that was really delightful to be among a lot of friends that I know in the industry who are in the game, and to see the fan reaction. It actually has inspired me to finally start doing some conventions and things. I've held off on doing some of that stuff, but to see the reaction of people enjoying us on stage and wanting to meet me and wanting to talk to me and those types of things, it made me realize I need to come out of my little booth here and actually see the world a little bit more. So hopefully that'll be happening soon.
I want to ask too about the booth because I've gotten to talk to Steve Staley, Corey Phillips, just a different amalgamation of voice actors, and I want to know your opinion on how voice acting changed, and you be honest as you can, how voice acting changed after the pandemic, and do you wish it went back to the old way it used to be?
I don't. Well, voice acting has now become nationwide because of the pandemic, because anybody who has a microphone and has a decent setup can go ahead and audition for things. And that's a good thing because it helps sort of introduce new people into this career. Prior to the pandemic, I was doing a lot of in-person directing. I get to direct from home now, so that's nice. But overall, the style of acting hasn't changed. We're still doing the same type of thing, and we're still getting brilliant and beautiful performances. And there's times that I'm in person and I am directing in studio with the talent directly in front of me, and then there's times that I'm here. I'm fine with both ways, quite honestly.
So from a director's standpoint, I want to ask, because I got to talk about this in a previous interview and I got to learn, is a lot of the time, especially for anime, you're kind of doing the scene just right there. You don't really have too much time to figure out what your game plan is. What do you look at as a director when you have some of these bigger names coming in for a project that you've already seen?
Well, here's the thing. For me as a director, I make it my purpose to get as much information about the project ahead of time because I want to service the story as much as possible. Story is the most important thing to me. So I will watch all of the episodes in Japanese with subtitles. I will watch even if it's just storyboards to see what the storyline is. So I know. And I ask for as many upfront as possible. If I can get the entire series, that's brilliant. Sometimes I can't. Sometimes I'm flying and I only have 4 episodes. And by episode 9, you realize, oh God, this was a gentleman who was in disguise this entire time and was not this character, but this character. And you have to sort of pull it all together. But I also refer to the mangas when I can and read all of those ahead of time. Like I did that with Zom 100. I didn't have any of the storyline outside of the mangas, and so I read all the mangas. They actually gave me access to everything, and I just poured through all of them, figuring out where our seasons were going to be, where our episodes were going to be, what kind of, relationships there were going to be, and knowing that helps me steer the actors when they're inside the booth. I can give them a quick rundown of a scene and let them know where they're going, or if they don't have enough time, I can just give them an intention. I need you to play this angrier, but I need a layer of fear underneath that anger, because maybe they're in a predicament that they don't understand. And by giving that, it's going to help the moment blossom and be honest. And then I focus on the lip flaps and I focus on how it's written. And sometimes I'll rewrite the lines on the fly to match the intention of what the original Japanese is, but matches the flaps better and matches the intentions we need to pull across.
So where did the opportunity to do something like Zom 100 or any of the other projects that you actually have gotten to direct come from? Like how did the pitch go, or what did you have to do to apply to get that particular
It
series?
started with me being an actor for some projects, and there's a brilliant and beautiful company by the name of Bang Zoom. And a long time ago, I had been directing for casting agencies and directing people's auditions. This is prior to the pandemic, so people would come in and I would direct them. I used to work for a place called The Voice Caster and another place called Terry Berland Casting. Terry Berland handled all of the Red Bull commercials, those Red Bull gives you wings, all of those, all the animated ones. She was the casting director for that. And the voice caster did a lot of different commercials like the Cheerios Bee and all those types of things. So I would have the actors come in and I would direct them. But after the pandemic, I reached out to Bang Zoom and said, hey, I've been doing casting direction for a long time and I really would like the opportunity to do some narrative work. And at the time, I had done JoJo's Bizarre Adventure with them. I had done Cells at Work with them. I had done, what's the one? Oh, Seven Deadly Sins with them. I had done Lupin the Third, a couple other things. So they knew me as an actor, and they brought me in and did an interview with me. And then they didn't have a director for a video game project. And so that video game project was a game called Arcadegeddon. That's through Ilphonic Games. And they gave me the entire game and I directed it. And unbeknownst to me at the time, a couple of actors went to Mami Okada, the casting director and one of the heads of the company, and said, who is this guy? He's really good. We really like working with him. And so they took a chance on me and said, okay, we want you to work under Tony Oliver. He's my anime mentor. And he's going to do the first 2 episodes of The Honor at Magic High, which is the companion piece to The Irregular at Magic High. And you're going to do the second 2, the next 2 episodes, episodes 3 and 4. And then he'll do another 2 episodes, 5 and 6. And then we'll see where we're at and see how you're doing. Well, after 3 and 4, after 5 and 6, when Tony did those, they gave me the rest of the series because they realized I could handle this, and I had an aptitude for it because it's very different work than video game work, and I love anime and have loved anime my entire life. So I just started in on that, and then they gave me my first whole series of my own. It was Odd Taxi, which is a brilliant show. Then they gave me Tokyo 24th Ward, Engage, Kiss, Kakaguri Twin, Junji Ito Maniac, Housing Complex C, Zom 100, the movie Suzume I got a chance to do. That's probably my pinnacle when it comes to anime. And then most recently, it was Sakamoto Days Season 2. So, yeah, I got a chance to direct all those, yeah.
And Junji Ito, when I saw that, I was surprised completely that you got to work on that. That's super interesting. Was there any pressure because that was coming to Netflix?
Yeah, so I had done some things for Netflix before. Kakaguri Twin was a Netflix project, and by that time I'd also done Suzume. Now, Suzume, for you, those of you who don't know, it's a film by Makoto Shinkai, and Makoto Shinkai, when Miyazaki retired, sort of took over that spot, that empty space. Because while Miyazaki's movies are all about, let me tell you about this fantastical world, and you're in the real world. No, let me tell you about this fantastical world. Okay, let me show you the fantastical world, and it's even more fantastical than what they explained. Makoto Shinkai was, here's the real world with Uber Eats and McDonald's and people just going about their day. But just underneath the surface, there is this layer of magic that he likes to tie into. And he loves romance and he loves connections with people. So Your Name is his film, as is Weathering with You. And when Suzume came up, because I care so much about the authenticity of the performance matching the lip flap of things, they hired me for that, and I was supremely honored. I was so honored. So from there, I mean, when you have to match lip flap because you know it's going to be an IMAX, you need to make sure that it looks like it belongs. I want people, when they watch my dubs, to lose themselves so much into it that they think that the animation was made for English. I want them to see everything and never see a flaw, never an extra flap or any of those types of things that pulls you out of it. So it's very, very important to me to make that as authentic and as real and as close to what the intention is of the Japanese as possible while bringing so much life to it. After that, it was Junji Ito Maniac. And so it was funny because they were actually just prior to that was Junji Ito Maniac. And they said, here, Bill, just go with it. Netflix just wants it done. And I was like, really? I love horror. And when I was watching the animation of it and I saw what they had placed and I saw how some of it was matching and some of it was a little less matching and stuff like that, I was like, can I add a few cues to make this scarier? Can I go in a different direction? And they gave me sort of free reign to do what I wanted to do. And I did that. And I feel really proud of that project. And when Suzume came along, they were like, Bill, you need to be as close to Miyazaki, not Miyazaki, as Makoto as possible. And I was like, I'm not going to mess with a master. I'm not going to mess with a master at all. So, yeah. So, but Junji was fun because I'm such a big horror fan, and to have basically this horror, titan in Japan with all of his IP and then be able to tell some of his stories, that was brilliant. To get into the fear of it, to get into, the nuance and make it really, really scary. That was really fun.
And I started listening to a lot of the past podcasts that you've gotten to do, and you've been doing not only voice acting, but acting work for such a long time. It's within these last couple of years, and you said it yourself that you felt not prominent, but you've comfortable in just doing this full time and doing everything that you possibly could. What would you say in the last couple of years has really hit that point where you just step back and you go, my life's pretty cool?
It was being able to start directing narrative work for anime and video games. And the reason is because every skill set that I sort of learned growing up ended up falling into place. I am a screenwriter, and I've been writing ever since I was in middle school, writing fiction. So my ability to adapt a script became an important thing. I was in music. I played in a symphony for many years, playing a clarinet, a bass clarinet, a contralto clarinet. I actually went to Japan and played multiple concerts with a giant orchestra. And having that tone and pitches so that when we come to these moments of big crowd scenes, I'm like, I need more high end. I need more low end. I need more of this. Can you give me some mid-level so that the crowd sequences sound wonderful? And then the acting, of course, and the fact that I had been watching anime ever since I was a kid, with Battleship Yamamoto and G-Force and Robotech and all of these much, much older anime, with my real, I must have this was Robotech, because it was the first time that an anime showed me that a main character could be killed in a television show that you show after school. And that was a big moment for me. And I went, I need to find more of this. And that's when I discovered Akira. And I saw Akira in subtitled, and it blew my mind. And I was hooked forever from then forward. And by having that knowledge of what that flavor is, and the fact that I constantly read every night. Right now, I'm reading the whole Red Rising Golden Sun series, and I poured through Golden Sun in a day and a half just yesterday, and now I'm into the third book. I read every night, and story and character are also important to me so that I can direct somebody well by getting into their brain and basically saying, I want you to imagine it's more, angry, but I need a layer of sorrow underneath it. Or I need you to be extremely joyful, but also putting on an act. I need to bring out the humanity of the moment, because it's rare when a human being has only one emotion at a time. So being able to layer those on top of each other, really make these rich performances, really helps as well because I read so much. So when all these things started lining up and people, without me asking, were starting to say, hey, we really like what Bill's doing, and now we're giving him these big projects, and I'm going to premieres, and it's being nominated for Best Animated Feature at the Golden Globes, and I'm just like, where did my life go? Because I sit in this booth. Look at me sit in the booth. So it is humbling and exciting, and I just want to continue down that path. So that's when I realized, holy crap, this is really amazing, and I'm really delighted. I've found where I'm supposed to be, and it's not that I'm going to stay here only directing voiceover. My next step is to start, and I have a couple of screenplays that I've written. One has won awards at a film festival. In fact, many of them have won awards at film festivals, but this one in particular, I'm developing it to being a fully animated feature film, but it's going to be R-rated. I want something that adults can go in and watch. I want to capitalize on the fact that everybody seems to be leaning towards, hey, we grew up with all of this lovely stuff as kids, whether it be Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh or Avatar, and now that they're older, they're still craving that cinematic experience with anime, but they want it on a big screen. I mean, look at what Demon Slayer Infinity Castle did. It is now the highest grossing film internationally ever to come to the United States, either live action or animation. It is just huge. And I knew a couple of years ago when the Jujutsu Kaisen film came out and it knocked The Fast and the Furious out of its number one spot, the second weekend that Fast and the Furious was open, I was like, there's something happening here. Then you had Blue-Eyed Samurai. Then you had Love, Death, and Robots. Then you had Arcane. You had these things that were rich and were adult, and people were doing amazing, violent, and brilliant, and beautiful, and soulful things, but they were animated. And even if you have animation that is not, to the richness that Arcane is, you have Invincible, where they're taking these incredibly violent and brilliant human stories and putting them on Amazon, and the Mighty Nine, and the Legends of Ex Machina. These things people are now really, really wanting, but I want to do something amazing in animation for an adult audience to see on a big screen. That's the next step for me. Both the voiceover and the animation.
I like the way that you said that. I like the way, so with my generation, we finally grew up to be the kids that could afford to go to the movies all the time and watch these animes on the theater and just seeing it. And, Jujutsu Kaisen comes out, Demon Slayer comes out. We have The Legend of Aang coming out, I believe, later
Dragon
or
Ball
no, next
came out
year.
in the theaters.
Dragon Ball came out.
Yeah, you had minor releases for My Hero Academia. Yeah, I mean, even when Demon Slayer was just doing seasons, you would get the first 40-minute episode of the new season and the two previous episodes of seasons, and people were filling theaters for it. They wanted to have that experience. I won't have the built-in audience that builds up to that moment. I want to create singular stories like you would feel by watching something, James Cameron-y, Steven Spielberg-y, those big soulful experiences that we went to the theater and you wanted to go back and rewatch it again and again and again just because you wanted that feeling again. And that's the kind of experiences that I want to make. And I want to make them in animated films for adults. That's my next step.
I like that because you have like Netflix has been doing pretty good with their animated films over the last couple of years, and it seems like more adult audiences like it.
Oh yeah. No, they've been doing amazing. I mean, look at what they did with the Tom Clancy Splinter Cell they recently did with that animated show, and they had Liev Schreiber in the lead. I'm sorry, Liev Schreiber in the lead. Then you look at Arcane, which is unprecedented. Arcane is the most expensive animated show of all time. And that's the level of animation that I would love to show on a big screen. You know,
Yeah.
that incredible depth of character and story and world building, but also the animation style is so amazing. I mean, it really blows your mind when you watch it. And it was interesting to watch them find themselves from episode 1 versus the final episodes. And 2, you're like, my God, their animation style has gotten so much better. They've gotten so much richer, so much more soulful. And they break your heart. They break your heart with their storytelling. And I'm like, watch that on the big screen.
Is that what you're kind of trying to go for? Is the more of like it hurts emotionally than just seeing people fight each other on screen? Because like Nimona did really good for Netflix, and it was so silly at the beginning, and then towards the end when you realize, oh, this is kind of a coming of age where there isn't a happy ending. Or K-pop Demon Hunters, yes, it was a musical, but it was still good, and it gave Disney a run for its money. Is that something you're trying to hit?
In some ways, you have to remember that to me, it's not just a style. I feel like people have categorized things too much.
Okay.
Because yes, do I want to have big, brilliant action moments that would be, you know, fighting or adventure or those types of things? Yes. But in the same movie, do I want isekai moments where you see the richness of life and it touches your soul? Yes. Why? Because we are complex beings and all of us have these emotions. We don't want to stick with one emotion the entire time. We want to see it all. We want to see why it affects us. In fact, there's a lot of the fighting anime out there that I don't watch just because it's going to be, I know that this hero is going to win and maybe it's going to be a great animated moment, but I want to see something more complex as an adult. I want to see, like right now, my favorite anime that is on right now is Frieren. Frieren is brilliant. It's brilliant. Why? Do we have our big fighting moments? Yes. Do we have our big badass moments? Yes. Do we have silly moments where she sleeps in too long? Yes. Do we have our food moments where we need to eat all the yummy things? Yes. Is all of it satisfying? Absolutely. That's why I love it so much. Same with My Hero Academia. Is My Hero Academia all battles all the time? No. It's about soul. It's about friendship. It's about potential romances. It's about all of these brilliant human moments. I will let you know, My Hero Academia has made me cry on a couple occasions. Okay? And that, to me, is the essence of tapping into the exhilaration of, yeah, that was amazing. And, oh gosh, my soul. I think my favorite film this year is one that I think a lot of people have really enjoyed, but it just surprised me at how much depth and soul there was beneath a giant action picture. And that was Predator Badlands. Predator Badlands, you have brother and learning how to be a human that's not only self-sufficient, but maybe involving family and learning protection and learning what's more important than your goal. Than, you know, I mean, all of these great moral stories are tied into one of the most badass, incredibly violent pictures I've ever seen. And it's PG-13 because it's a bunch of aliens and a bunch of synthetic humans. So they can go nuts. That's just brilliant.
I love the way that you the amount of emotion that you have, because like I hinted earlier at the beginning,
so much. I want to.
We talked about, or at least in the intro, I said you're a potential, or you are kind of an Avenger, and you voice Punisher, and
Yes,
Punisher is the exact opposite of what you show, and I love it so much. My first question on that.
No, I love the Punisher. I'm a big comic collector. I've been collecting comics so long that Comic-Con back in the day was just a bunch of people with folding tables and boxes of comics that were looking for specific issues. That was when Comic-Con was, when I used to go to Comic-Con. I used to live in San Diego in a place called Poway, California. And and I am a lot older than I look. I started collecting more. I mean, I collected back in the late 70s when I was a kid, But when I really started getting back into it, as a friend of mine said to me, "You haven't been reading comics lately?" Okay, because they've taken a turn. They're no longer going to go, "Yeah, but they're always just like, hey, here's a superhero and they're coming to save the day." And it goes, "No, they've changed. You need to go look at this guy named Wolverine." And so I went to the local Circle K and I saw an issue. It just happened to be Uncanny X-Men 172. And it shows Wolverine on the front in a crouch with Rogue behind him.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my first issue. That first issue blew my mind because it was soulful, and I grabbed the issue prior to it as well. And here you have Chris Claremont doing his amazing work with the X-Men that changed the world, where the issue that I get is where Lady Mariko turns down Logan at the altar for their wedding. Storm gets turned into, from hanging out with Yukio, who's the head of the Morlocks, who becomes Lady Deathstrike later, decides to embrace her chaos and comes out with the mohawk and the leather suit.
Mm-hmm.
And this is also the issue where Wolverine savages the Silver Samurai. This issue was made into the movie called The Wolverine. So that's my first introduction to the X-Men. I'm like, yum, 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 yum. And I continued all the way through Apocalypse and into Inferno. And then I stopped because the art went downhill, the storytelling went downhill. And so I stopped right there. Plus, I also went to college and I realized, comics went from $1.25 to $4.75 an issue. This is a lot. So, when you're trying to eat off a ramen, getting a comic it was expensive. That was right around the time that Image started as well. So that was a big switch for everything. That was right around 1990. So, yeah. Huge fan.
You
Huge
are.
And getting back to the point. I started collecting the Punisher because the Punisher came out right during that time too, and he had his 4-issue miniseries, and I read my friend's version of the 4-issue miniseries, and then when the first new issue that was his ongoing series started, first super, spectacular first issue, that's when I picked up the Punisher, and I had the first 3 years, so the first 36 issues of the Punisher from back then, still do.
I'm jealous. Oh my God, that's awesome.
I will let you know they are not in good condition because I cared about the story and about reading them. I didn't care about whether or not I would sell them later because they were collector's items. Are they in bags? No, they are not. Are they pressed all together and completely tied and in a dark place? Yes. Are they yellowed? Yes. Do I go back and I reread them? Yes, I do. I get so much pleasure from reading my comics. I know people back then, even then, were going, I'm going to buy a reading copy and I'm going to buy a copy that's going to stay and it's going to be pristine and everything else. And I was like, I don't care about that. I care about reading. I care about reading the story.
I love that. I love that so much. That's awesome. What I wanted to ask was, when you get the offer, if you got the offer, the NDAs there, was that the character you thought you were applying for?
Yes. So, and here's the interesting thing about it. BrightSkull Entertainment, who are the voiceover directors and recorders for Marvel Rivals, Michael, who's the director there, I got pulled into another Marvel project having auditioned for The Punisher. And I got the role and I went in and I recorded for it. But in that game, they decided that after they had recorded me, that they didn't want the Punisher in that game for whatever reason. So even though they had my recordings, they didn't include me in that game. But what they then did was they transferred me over to Rivals. And I was that I know of, the very first person to record for the game of Marvel Rivals. And it was really funny. I think you'll enjoy this. I said this at the live event, but when they brought me in and I started to do my Frank Castle, they were like, can he be a little more brighter or happier? And they're like, no, it's the Punisher. You'll get there with Spider-Man and everybody else, but this guy's right here in this little range. He's the Punisher. So.
Okay. Yeah, that went through my head. I was like, this is insane. And then, getting to learn, at least from your previous podcast recordings and your career history, I was like, how did he get Punisher? Did he even want Punisher, or did he
Oh
just
yeah,
go in and he
I
was
love me
like,
some Frank Castle. I love me some
was
Frank
there
Castle.
ever a other character that you wanted, like Bucky Barnes or Namor or even Steve Rogers? Was there anybody else you thought of trying out for?
When it comes to the bigger guys like Steve Rogers is real difficult for me because when I look at a character, I look at where I can find their flaws because then I can find their humanity. And at the time, we have this icon of Chris Evans being him. And I'm like, I don't want to repeat that. And I don't want to, how do I just be this soulful Boy Scout? And I auditioned for it. I've auditioned for the other big ones too. I've auditioned for Batman. I even got a call back for Batman at one point, for Superman, for Green Lantern. I've auditioned for a lot of these big ones, but I connect to the ones that have more tormented backstories or mirthful sort of just something that I can slip more out of me and into a different completely character. I know that I didn't say that correctly, but a different character completely. And I know about Frank Castle from reading so much about him that I can inform my lines based on who I'm interacting with. I mean, we all have our little interactions. You can go online, you can pull up Punisher interactions, and it'll pull up every single interaction that he has, every single line that he does, and you can see everything that he does. And so knowing everybody that I'm acting across, that's great. But in terms of my favorite Marvel characters, some of them have not been included in Rivals yet. So I'm waiting on that.
Ooh. So can you give me a little hint? Is it like
Sure.
Raven?
My favorite character in all of Marvel Universe, for all of his flaws, for all of his glee, for all of his mischievousness, I love Nightcrawler. And I would love to see him teleport around a map, bamf, and just be complete chaos. I think if they can figure out a way to do that, that would be amazing. I love Kurt Wagner. He's so good. And then I love Bobby. I love Iceman. I think that they've not only scratched the surface of who that character can be, especially in movies. They focus on his power and not who he is in his soul in many instances. I mean, X-Men did, and X-Men 97 I haven't seen much of, so I don't know how much he's in it. But, that kind of thing. I would love to see more Bobby. But there's also the obscure ones like I like Longshot. Anybody remember who Longshot?
I'm not familiar with Longshot.
So back during the Chris Claremont era, there was a miniseries called Longshot. And Longshot came from a completely different other dimension. And he wore this suit and he had these they looked like spatulas, but they were knives and they came down across his chest. And the thing was, his superpower wasn't supreme physicality or anything else. It was luck. And his eye would shine, his left eye would shine, and he would throw and he would do things or flip things or make some sort of maneuver and his eye would shine and the wind would catch him and put him back down, or he would hit this one thing, or he would throw this at this one moment. And for a brief amount of time in the 90s, he was pulled into the X-Men. So you guys will have to look up who Longshot is because that was where Art Adams, the artist, really got to show his work, was Longshot. That's where I learned how to draw some of my stuff. So
you've gotten to talk about and I want to go onto this topic about now wanting to do conventions and talk to fans and have these conversations with fans.
I didn't know that you guys loved me in this so much. So when you live in this little booth and you chat and everything else, and one of the things that was sort of slowing me down was that I love the fans so much. I want to interact with them, but how do I do it for only a brief amount of time? And how does finances come into it and all this other thing that sort of made me uncomfortable because I'm a sensitive person when it comes to those types of things. And so now that I've seen that people are like, no, we want you to come. We want to spend time with you. We want to, ask you questions and have you sign things. I was like, okay, now I have to let go of some of that anxiety and just come out and meet everybody. Because even
gonna
though
be
I
cool.
love to act, even though I love to act and everything else, I am in some ways a bashful person. I do love interacting with people. I was a theater major. That's one of the reasons why the live event was so fun, was because I got to be on a stage again and I saw the crowd and I played to the crowd and I did my thing and it was glorious and it was fun. And now I realize, okay, it's time for me to put aside some of that that anxiety and insecurity, because we all have those moments of,
Mhm.
do I, what is it, imposter syndrome a little bit. And
Mhm.
so for me to show up and see that people are wanting to engage and wanting to chat and wanting to get to know me, I'm going to definitely step on that bandwagon. I actually have to put together a few things for a few people to see about representation to get to these places. So
Ooh.
I know, right?
So, how do you handle imposter syndrome? Because for me right now, getting to talk to somebody that voices my main on one of my favorite
Mm.
games and getting to hang out with you for an hour, take an hour of your time or little less, and just get to pick your brain. That's something that I deal with every time I have a guest. How is that? How do you deal with imposter syndrome?
I focus on the quality of the work. If I take my ego out of it and I focus on the quality of the work and I feel like it's giving me a positive emotion to do the work, the acting, the writing, the drawing of storyboards, those types of things. And when I go, oh, I don't know if I can do that, and then I look back and I go, but you've done all of this to this point. I
Mhm.
mean, you've directed voiceover for a Golden Globe nominated feature film. You've become a Marvel character, something that you never thought was going to happen. You've directed anime, which, who thought when you were a kid, when you were watching it, that you were going to be directing and directed by one of the men that you were listening to. Fun fact. The lead in Robotech, Rick, is Tony Oliver. Tony Oliver directed me in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, all these things. So here I am, I'm meeting these people, just like you're meeting me, and I'm like, so it's those moments. And so the way I get over that is to go back and reread what I've written, go back and listen to what I've done after a moment. And instead of listening to it of, that's Bill, I look at it as, what does that character sound like?
Mhm.
What does their voice sound like when I'm writing? What does that scene look like? Is it coming out of my brain correctly? I don't want to duplicate what other people have done when it comes to creating cinematic moments. So what's in my brain? The beautiful thing about animation is you can create anything. It has
Mhm.
no boundaries. Regular film has boundaries. Animation never does. So I look at those moments and look at the work and I go, okay, there's something here, because this is connecting with me. But even when I walk away from it and I come back to it, maybe I'll edit it a little bit more, or maybe I'll rewrite it a little bit more. And then I'm like, that's it. That's it. Then I go, it would be disingenuous to not bring this that brings me such joy out and see if it brings other people joy.
Okay. I like
Because
that.
you do this so that people can interact and see some of their people that they admire, and you're good at it. You're asking the right questions. You've done your homework. You're stepping into this role. So why not look back at all the people that you've interviewed this far and take a moment and take a breath and go, good job, me. I did this all on my own. Look at what I created. Because that's what it's about. I mean, we're not creating with a cheering squad behind us most of the time. We're creating in a quiet, dark place where the only thing that we have is the criticism of our minds. Sometimes that criticism can make things better, but you have to
Yeah.
break through the ego to go, what's really the story? What's really the moment? What's really the creative outlet? And you're doing it. You're doing it. I mean, I'm looking at your background right now with your with all of your action figures and your posters and your pop caps and all this stuff. I love it.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. I tried to make this unique. Everybody seems to be afraid to show the kid side of them, and I never have been.
Oh no, not anymore. No, so many people. I mean, look at Funko Pops are popular for a reason. It's because we never get tired of doing wonderful things. I would have so many if I just didn't think that I would just literally empty my bank account. I have to choose what I read, man. I have to be very cautious about not getting too deep into the weeds with the comics I read. Like right now, I'm deep into Monstress is an amazing one. I just finished an Image comic called what is it called? The Power something or other. It was a 13 episode and done series. It was really good. And I'm reading Exquisite Corpse, which is kind of like, a Hunger Games flavor of things with serial killers.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, so it's very, very interesting. So I'm reading all these interesting comics right now, but it's like, but I want to read that one too. Kindle Unlimited only goes so far.
That sounds just like my partner. She'll start a book series. She'll get so into it. She'll tell me, and then she'll start a mini adventure with a new one. And I'm like, we haven't finished. Maybe I want to know how that one ends. Like, I don't.
Oh yeah.
I don't know where we're going.
There's a guy named Rick Partlow, and he cranks out books like Stephen King does, and it's all in a sort of military sci-fi world. And his first series was called the Drop Trooper series, and I started in that, and then I went through every single one of his series that touched that within a year. And that is a significant amount of books. I think that's like 55, 56 books or something like that in his series. It's absolutely nuts. And so I go down the rabbit hole. That's why I literally in a day and a half finished Golden Sun, and now I'm on the third Red Rising book. So.
Yeah, I don't know how those are going to pan out now that they are trying to come to live action television. But I'm excited.
Are they bringing Red Rising to live action television?
So Apple, yeah. So from the last that I saw, because I like doing news updates on the channel too, Apple pulled out, and now it seems like it's Netflix or Amazon that are going. And
Pierce Brown have the rights. Whether or not they're going to do anything is up in the air, because there's also another military sci-fi series that is absolutely exquisite. It's called Old Man's War. And it is brilliant, and I don't want to give away the hook on it, but let's just say at 77 years old, you are allowed to get conscripted into the military, and somehow or another, the military lets the people on Earth know that when they get conscripted, they will be de-aged, but they will be sent out into an intergalactic war that they've kept away from Earth, but they don't let people know how. And that's all I'm going to say. That's the setup for it. And there are 6 books. A 7th book is just about to come out. And I read that and I went, I want to make that into an animated series. I read Red Rising and I immediately went, I want to make that into an animated series. Because I think with the teeth that you can have with an adult animated series, you can do these justice, because, Red Rising is incredibly violent. And it's incredibly rough. So, I mean, they're going to have to, if they're going to live action that, they're going to have to gloss over, rape and cutting off of ears and all sorts of like really heavy topics that you could do tastefully and really touch base with it in an animated series that was an adult animated series. Another one that just got made that I'm a big fan of is the Murderbot series, which became, the first season is out on Apple with the eldest Skarsgård brother playing the Murderbot. And if you've not read them, they are amazing books. And I thought they did well with the first season. I thought they did well. I hope that they continue on. If they do, it's going to get bigger and more elaborate. We shall see. But Murderbot was, it's a great series. It's a great series of books. Again, story is everything to me. Story is everything to me.
We got to have like another episode down the line that is just based on books. And then after you get to do your first couple of convention appearances, because I just want to hear the stories. I love it.
Yeah.
I love
it'll be very interesting. I made a cardinal mistake in that I went upstairs because during the convention, somebody held up a Punisher comic and I went, I will sign that shit. And then I waited outside to see if they would show up in the lobby. And myself and Xanthi, Hugh, who plays Dagger of Cloak and Dagger, we got mobbed to get things signed, and it was lovely, and I was enjoying it, but literally I got pulled away by the staff going, fire hazard. So I apologize for everybody who got crammed in the hallway, who did not get a signature. I apologize. Hopefully coming to a convention near you.
All right. Well, that is my conversation. First and foremost, thank you so much again for being here. Where can everybody find your socials?
Everybody can find me on Instagram. Actually, Instagram is my place to go for all of my information. It's you can find it under Bill Millsap, but my actual handle is at audio AUDIO, the capital letter U, the number 4 IA. So it's Audio Euphoria.
Oh, I love that. What is something that you could say to somebody that is not necessarily just trying to get into voice acting, but just needs a little pick me up when they're listening to this? What could you say?
Believe in the power of your eagerness to do the next thing. If you have that feeling of eagerness, of, oh, that would be cool, whether it be picking up a guitar for the first time, or drawing something, or voicing something, or deciding to put yourself on camera to try and do an acting job, or painting something, or anything. I want to learn how to drift in a car. Ooh, I want to learn how to cook. Any of those things that bring that little tingle of, ooh, I want to do that. Follow it. If you don't follow it, you will regret it. So when you feel it, follow it. Keep following it until you realize, yeah, that's not quite for me. Or no, this hurts my fingers. Or no, I don't think I want to. And understand that you're always going to suck to start. You're always going to suck to start, okay? But follow it. Keep following it. As my mentor, Bob Bergen, the voice of Porky Pig, told me when I first started taking classes with him well over 13 years ago. He said, you have to get high at the mic. Why? Because you're isolated. You're in this little room. So you have to follow that eagerness. You have to follow that joy of creating the character in front of your microphone and get that rush from doing the acting job. It can't just be dread. It can't be, oh God, is it good enough? Because that will take you out of it. You follow the joy. You follow the eagerness. You follow that I want to grab that and shake it like a puppy with a sock toy. And you keep following that until it reaches its own natural conclusion. For me, cinema and storytelling has always been my goal. I thought I was going to do some live action directing. I used to do visual effects. I was on Deep Impact and Armageddon and Dante's Peak and Starship Troopers back in the day building models because I used to love to build models. And I followed that to its natural conclusion and realized, no, I still want to grow. I want to go past this point. So now I'm here. So follow the eagerness.
I love it. I love it. There's more times. I hope that we can have you later on this year again and just hear more and more stories about everything you've gotten to do. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my conversation with the voice of Punisher, Bill Millsap. Thank you again so much.
I want to do things my way.
Yes! I didn't want to ask, but thank you.
No, you gotta ask. What do you want to hear? Before we sign off, what do you want to hear?
I have to. You're alt. I have to hear it.
Judge, jury, executioner.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Goodbye. Thank you again.